Hello everybody and welcome to my first video on this channel, or maybe not first, but one of the first ones. This one being about a book, as I am going to do a book review. This book review is going to be about Tales from the Gas Station Volume 1 by Jack Townsend. Jack Townsend is not really well known, I would say, but in the creepypasta and horror community, probably much more well known than anything else. So maybe you know, maybe you don't, but without spoilers, I shall now talk about what I liked and my overall thoughts on the book and why you maybe would also enjoy it. First of all, I think the book overall was very good. I would give it a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10, because this is like the first book I read in years, because I am not an avid reader, but this one kind of made me into one. Why I will get into later in the spoiler territory, when I will go into some more I don't know, spoilery things that interested me specifically and I think were very well done. But for now, we are going to talk about the overall things. This video is just going to be me ranting a little bit and not very well scripted. So yeah, I hope you stick with me and we shall see what happens. So I think the book overall was really, really well written. In some parts, actually somewhat poetic and deep. Like a few parts were genuinely really good and sounded like they were straight out of some Shakespeare shit or Lee Bardugo book, which I shall go over another time. But then other times it was kind of much more like internet humor, like Reddit humor, which, to be fair, I sometimes am not the biggest fan of, but I think the book hit its mark all of the time. The humor was almost always very well fitting, fit the situation, sometimes was just absurd, which made it even better, I think. And overall, it leaned very heavily on the humor, but I think it worked 99% of the time. There's like 2 pages, I think, worth of humor lines, or generally just 2 pages that did not work at all for me, and those are pertaining to something spoilery, so I'm not gonna go into it right now. But the horror factor, but the horror factor of the book is somewhat minimal, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a bit more horror and just creepiness, but it was much more a comedy than anything else, which I expected because I listened to the Creepcast episode about the original blog posts and creepypastas, which are basically one-to-one translated into the book, but just rewritten and with some addendums, like the Halloween episode or Halloween blog post that was removed, I think, online is in there, which we will go about later. But other than that, I think this was very well done. The horror and the comedy mixed really, really well, just because I don't know how he does it, to be honest, but he makes really creepy and, to be honest, sometimes grotesque and fucked up situations very funny, which takes the heaviness out of some instances and sometimes kind of makes it feel like there's not much tension in the book. But I think that is a testament to how well done the comedy is, because it takes the tension out of really tense situations, but he can do it differently, because the horror is not horror. I would much more say it is creepy or grotesque in a lot of parts, which he sometimes lets shine through the comedy, and in very rare situations it is genuinely creepy or makes me just go, oh my goodness, they sent a little tingle down my spine, or grotesque where I'm like, oh god, oh Jesus. And I think that's a pretty good testament to how well he writes the mix of comedy and horror. And there's also quite a lot of mystery put into this book, which I feel like has been understated anywhere I read about this book or heard from it, because in the blog post, this horror aspect, this mystery aspect was not mentioned, I think. Even in the Creepcast episode, I can't recall there being much of a mystery. It was just plain creepiness and everything. But in the book, there is this really well written mystery plot. But in the book, there is this really, really well written mystery plot, which I will go over soon. But I think it is really understated how well written and just how well executed also this mystery plot is, and kind of builds up subtly, slowly, and over the course of like 300 pages, and then somewhat gets revealed, and then the book just ends. And yeah, the ending I will also talk about, but let us move on to spoiler territory. So, spoiler alert from here on out. If you want to read this, go ahead and buy it. Support the artist, the author, Jack Townsend. He is incredible at what he does, and I think he should make more because I need more and I do not want this to end ever. So, moving on. I mostly want to go over parts of the books I really, really liked and just wanted to talk about specifically. And then the ending and also my dislikes a bit, because sometimes the book did go into a few pages where I was like, okay, that's not necessarily the best, but I do think it's fun. So let's talk about the subtle build-up of Tony's secret. I personally think the reveal near the end, okay, this is spoiler territory, so I'm just gonna say it, talk it out. Um, the reveal of Tony's betrayal and that Tony is a double agent who has not worked or did not work at the gas station was rather well done. Although this might just be an oversight on my part, the reveal with the cookie dough I didn't quite understand. I think it was kind of sudden, but other than that, it did make me think when it was brought up, like, oh, what the fuck? Yeah, right. They don't sell fresh wares, and the cookie dough is fresh, and why is it there? It was well executed. I just think it could have been built up a bit more or sooner, rather. But the other parts, when Tony killed kind of all of the Keefers, it is not just implied, it is basically set out that he killed all of them intentionally. He tries to hide it by saying it was accidents and so on, but sometimes Jack inspects the bodies and just sees like a slit throat, tied shoelaces, and so on, and it just completely contradicts the story Tony told. So I think that is very well done and plants some seed of doubt, but maybe how I saw it was that, oh, Tony is just maybe secretly a murderer. Can happen. Maybe he just wanted to kill Kiefer for revenge because, oh, he made him feel so shit the first time he accidentally killed him. The second time he just killed him out of spite. And I think it was very well hidden that he actually killed all of them intentionally. And that is really, really well done. The twist at the end, like the whole end of the book, to be fair, except for, again, one page, was incredibly well done. It was really, really tense and just overall made me yearn for the second book, which I have not read yet, but I will soon. It made me yearn for the second book, for the answers, for more reveals, and so on. But moving on to the build up and the sequences of Jack's doctor visits and therapy visits. In the beginning, I was kind of caught off guard by how, I guess, evil the therapist is portrayed. But the more I read, the more I really, really did not trust him. It was quite funny, but there was just always something in the back of my mind that was telling me this therapist or doctor is not really a doctor or something. He's just there to do something. And the more and more the book went on, the more sessions we looked into, the more it was clear to me this dude is not really there to help Jack, because first of all, he told basically to take the sewer slide and keep his brain intact so they could research it, which, yeah, I don't think that's supposed to happen. He also straight up lies to Jack multiple times, and the whole setup of they are not allowed to lie directly, but they can omit things, it's also really weird. But he straight up lied to Jack multiple times with the 5 words that they were supposed to remember. He lied multiple times. He told Jack that he was hallucinating things. Things weren't real that were real because there was evidence, which leads me to the next thing. The mystery of Tom's death, because this leads basically into one another. Tom's death was like a big thing where, oh, was it real, was it not real? Of course it is real, but the therapist tried to make him feel like it wasn't real, through like subtly saying, oh, there is no hard proof evidence of that it happened, but there is the shopping list, the receipts of what was bought at what time in the store. And there were 6 items, and like 2 of them were phone calls to the police and everything. And I think those like heavily imply that it was real before it is revealed that it was real with Tom's actual death. And I just think that was really, really well done, and just showed how untrustworthy the therapist really is, the doctor really is. And yeah, then the twist of Jack's illness or sickness with his incurable insomnia, that it isn't real, it's something else entirely, was also just really, it was sudden, but like it was a really good plot twist. It was a sudden plot twist where you were like, what the fuck? But you kind of could have expected it because of the whole therapist situation, and that everything was weird about it. And that made me just crave the second book so much more. And yeah, those were like the big plot points which I wanted to talk about. Then on like tiny things I want to talk about, I love the gnomes. The gnomes are so funny, like the way, the fact that one of the gnomes wrote on Jack's leg cast after he broke his leg. And just generally all the tiny little events happening at the gas station made them so fun and so enjoyable to read, and just a genuine joy to go through, because it felt like basically a more, not necessarily mature, but a more darkened, a bit grown up, but not necessarily, Gravity Falls, which is just one of the best TV shows ever. So that in a book form was just a joy to read. And now we move on to my dislikes a little bit, which aren't a big part. This really was just a few pages, maybe one chapter if you combine it all. Specifically the Halloween episodes, the Halloween happenings, where I didn't quite like what was going on in general, with like what happened in the parallel dimension where Jack was sent, that he woke up a gnome, that the gnome killed Tom and stuff. It was just all a bit weird and felt a bit out of place. And then, but all of that was fine. I think it was just a bit, I felt rushed because they had like 3 chapters, but it still was really well written and had a lot of build up in it, especially with in the Halloween chapters, a lot of the therapist stuff was revealed. So I think it is overall still a good chapter, but what I specifically didn't like were the agents, because they were just so absurd and over the top. They kind of dragged down the whole chapter a bit. The 2 agents, the CIA, FBI, whatever the fuck they are, they just kind of took it down a notch because they were just too much. They were really fun, but they did not mix and fit the vibe at all. And that's why I also didn't quite like them showing up again at the ending. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe the agents will get an explanation in another book, and maybe they will rectify it or something. I don't know. Then the Dark God reveal I thought was decent. I already knew about all of it from the Creepcast episode, but like I still do not like the personality of the Dark God. I think it would have been a lot funner if he wasn't the stereotypical depiction of a Redditor or 4chan user. But I think it has a bit of charm to it. It's just not really my thing. So I didn't quite enjoy that part, but everything else about the book was incredible. It was just really, really good, well written, and a joy to read and behold. So I guess that's it. If you have any thoughts on the book, any feedback for this video, because this one is a really quick, sudden just thing I wanted to do, let me know down below in the comments. Let me know how you liked the book, if you read it, if you wanted to read it. My recommendation still stands. Go buy it. It's a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. So go ahead and read it. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.